Hello everyone and welcome to a really awesome game from round 5 of the first day of the Blitz in Paris. After 3 days, Wesley So is leading the tournament, but now we still have 2 more days of Blitz and then we'll see what happens. So here, Etienne Bacro left the tournament. He was a wild card for the Rapid section of the tournament, and now Vladimir Kramnik is the wild card for the Blitz section of the tournament. And it's always nice when a retired player comes back to play some chess, and here he faces Alireza Firouzja. So 45-year-old Kramnik versus 18-year-old Alireza. Let's see how it goes, and it's really an amazing game, especially because it's a Blitz game. It's just very, very complicated and very, very subtle moves are being played here. So without further ado, let's check it out. Kramnik with the white pieces opens with e4. We have c5. Firouzja goes for the Sicilian defense. We have knight to f3, d6, and now d4. Striking in the center, we have c captures, knight captures, and now knight to f6. Attacking this e4 pawn, knight to c3 defending, and a6. Going for the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian defense, we have a4 now, preventing b5 anytime soon from black, and g6, preparing to fianchetto not the king, but the dark square bishop. We have bishop to e2 and the bishop to g7. So this has all been played many times. Nothing new here. We have castles, and Alireza also castles. We have bishop to e3 and now knight to c6. So both players just nicely developing pieces. Queen d2, developing the queen, connecting rooks, and bishop to d7 now. We have rook f to d1 and now rook to c8. We have f3 now, strengthening this e4 pawn, and rook to e8. And here we have bishop to f1. This position has been reached, and it's been reached in 2009 in Amber tournament and in a blindfold game between Gata Kamsky and Vasily Ivanchuk. The game ended in a draw, but this game might not, because in this game knight to e5 was played, and this is now a new move in the position. In the game that I mentioned, Kamsky versus Ivanchuk, queen to c7 was played, but here knight to e5 is a new move. So already as of move 13, we have a completely new game. So let's see how Kramnik deals with this. He starts with b3. Later on, he wants to move this knight, then maybe c4, and start pushing some pawns on the queen side. We have queen to a5 now. The c3 square has been weakened, and now there's a double attack on the knight here. And Vladimir just moves the knight and offers a trade of queens. So queen captures, Alireza obliges. We have bishop captures on d2, and now d5. Striking in the center, going for some more trades. We have e captures, knight captures, and now c4. So now Kramnik gets the push his pawn all the way to c4, and later on he wants to push pawns even further, maybe b4, c5, and so on. And here c4 is kind of a deadly dare, but it's not maybe the kind of move you will play against a former world champion. Here knight captures on c4 might be what Alireza would play against anyone else, but here he maybe decided that maybe it would be too tricky to try this against Vladimir Kramnik, because you really get a lot for this piece. You get one pawn, and then after captures you get the second pawn, and now there's a double attack on the knight here, so you're threatening to win a piece, and also there's an attack on the third pawn, so white cannot defend everything. White has to move the bishop, so the rook defends the knight here, and then we just grab the third pawn. And now for the price of one piece, we grabbed 3 pawns, so we now have 6 pawns. Our opponent has 3, and we have 2 connected pass pawns on the queen side. So that's compensation in itself. But he decides against it. He goes back, knight to f6, and now comes a5, grabbing more space here and leaving Alireza with the weak b7 backwards pawn. So here we have knight to d3. And now comes bishop to c3, saying, okay, you move this knight is too powerful here. Knight to c5, and now comes b4. You don't want this b3 pawn to remain a target here, so b4, knight to a4, and here c5. And here Kramnik really expanded well on the queen side, but there's a problem here. Now he weakened the d5 square, and of course Alireza goes after that square. So knight to d5 with a double attack on the bishop here. Bishop has to move, and now knight to b2, attacking the rook, and once again shifting the knight towards d3. So we have rook d to b1, attacking the knight, and now not knight d3, but knight to c4, as the bishop here is now undefended. So bishop has to move, and here if you move the bishop, you can move the bishop, of course. For example, bishop to a1, and then we're going to play knight c to e3, and it's a really ugly position for white to play. This bishop still slicing all the way here. The knight's really controlling all of the squares here. The other bishop is coming to f5 at some point. We're going to pressure the other rook as well, and it's going to be impossible to hold this. So instead, after knight to c4, Kramnik defends the bishop with rook to a2. Makes sense. You kind of want to get rid of at least one of those knights, and you want to get your rook away from this square here. But now the position is really, really bad for Kramnik. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the absolute best move for black here while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on figuring out that it is possible for white to grab a pawn here. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is e5. And e5 is just beautiful because the knight has to go to b3, and this rook will no longer be defending this pawn. You, of course, can't go here because then we no longer defend the bishop. We can just pick up the piece here. So knight to b3 was played, and now, of course, we want to eliminate this bishop and pick up the b4 pawn. But first, bishop to f5. Let's utilize the other bishop as well. Now the rook on b1 is under attack. You can't go to b2. And now, because if you just capture, then knight will capture, and then this rook defends the b4 pawn. You want to get the rook away from the b4 pawn. Rook to d1, and now just knight captures on d2. And on the next move, we're going to capture the b4 pawn. So rook a captures on d2. We have knight captures on b4, and now knight to g3. So here, Kramnik is down a pawn, and he's going to have to work really, really hard not to lose this. So bishop to e6, and now comes rook to b1. And here, maybe better than rook to b1 was this knight to e4, threatening the fork here with knight to d6, and it's a very nice idea. Here. A lot of moves are possible. Black will probably play something like bishop captures on b3, but you don't have to go for bishop captures on b3 right away. You can go knight to c6 first, and still. It's gonna be very tricky. If knight to c1, if white doesn't want to lose a piece here, then you can play rook to b8, for example, defend this pawn, and now, well, you won't have all that many weaknesses here along the b file, and this will not be as potent. So it's definitely one of the possibilities. So even though black would be better here, maybe this knight to e4 idea was possible, because if you go for this and then black just captures on b3, you can play rook to b1, and now you have a double attack here, and you will, black will of course be better in all of these lines, but maybe it was better than what happened in the game. In the game, Kramnik played rook to b1, and now Alireza just started expanding here with f5. We have knight to c1, now attacking the knight here, but now just bishop to h6, and this is another beautiful move. Saying, okay, we're not going to move this to lose the b7 pawn. Let's throw this move in, and now you have to move it. So here we have rook to d6, but now bishop to e3 check. The c5 pawn is now free for grabs. We have king to h1, and now bishop captures on c5, defends the knight, attacks the rook, and now Alireza is up 2 pawns. So here, Kramnik has to resort to what's left. Rook captures on e6 was played. Rook captures and bishop to c4 now. Attacking the rook, so king has to defend, king to f7, and now knight c to e2. So what do you play here? We have bishop back to e7 by Alireza, attacking the bishop here, and now bishop captures on e6. We have king captures and h3. So here, Kramnik was able to win back his exchange, but he's still down 2 pawns. So here, rook to c2, nothing like a rook on the 7th rank. Okay, this is the 2nd rank, but to the other player, it's the 7th rank. So here we have rook to e1, but now king to f7, and this is just a really, really ugly position. We have knight to c1, trying to remaneuver the knight back into the game, but now bishop to h4, and this is unplayable. We have knight c back to e2, but now f4. We have rook to b1, now saying, okay, maybe we can trade pieces, but here Alireza just played bishop captures on g3, and he was in this position on move 42 that Vladimir Kramnik resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So it's a really incredible game, like I said, especially because it's a Blitz game. It had so many possibilities, so many secrets and hidden options that it's really impressive how Alireza was able to take Vladimir down like that. So here you resign because if you just trade here, for example, rook captures on b4, we play rook captures on e2. Well, you're just down a piece. And on the other hand, if you just pick up the bishop here, knight captures on b3, then f captures on b3, and we're again up a piece, because if white captures, then rook to c1 is checkmate. So really awesome stuff. So after a bishop captures on g3, Kramnik resigned, and a brilliant victory for Alireza with the black pieces against Vladimir Kramnik. So incredibly impressive stuff. So there are many games being played, so don't be shy of using the hashtag suggestion, so I can find more games for you guys to enjoy. I am going through them myself, of course, but there are many games being played, so if you have a favorite, feel free to use hashtag suggestion. So once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Rajesh Vimanathan, Adam Shire, Amir Maron, Zachary Harman, and Abdulaziz Abdulghani for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this very nice event. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.